a desire to be you, some creativity, and loads of joy can give rise to amazing conversations. Please do listen in Theatre of Joy. And like and subscribe, please.
I started observing the differences in the status of men and women at quite an early age. I observed that my mother would cook and serve hot chapatis for us, and by the time we were almost done with our meal, she would sit down to have hers. As an adolescent, I started resisting this. Though my mouth watered at the hot chapatis on my plate, I would wait for my mother to join the table before I ate. Slowly, my father and my brother joined too, and over the years, it became a family custom to sit down to eat together. तारागढ़ पंचायत भवन में साजे सपने की थिएटर और आर्ट क्लास की महिलाओं ने एक फोरम पब्लिक परफॉर्मेंस किए। 15 हफ्तों से इन महिलाओं की ग्रुप ने अलग अलग थिएटर, आर्ट और थेरेपेटिक प्रैक्टिसेस को करते हुए उनकी खुद की जिंदगी की 2 कहानियों पे नाटक बनाए थे। इस कहानी को पर्वतीय महिला अधिकार मंच के द्वारा तकरीबन 300 लोगों के बीच में पेश किया गया।
जब हम स्टार्टिंग में थिएटर रखा था तो हमें नहीं पता था कि थिएटर में होता क्या है। पहले गेम्स करते थे, फिर बहुत सारी फ्रेम्स बनाते थे, तो फिर उन फ्रेम्स को हम अलग अलग नज़रिए से कैसे देख सकते हैं। एक पिक्चर से बनाते हैं तो हम पिक्चर्स को बहुत अलग अलग तरीके से देख सकते हैं। तो वो सारी चीज़ें हम लोग स्टार्टिंग में सीख रहे थे, और फिर जैसे थिएटर में हम आगे बढ़ते गए तो फिर धीरे धीरे हमें बताया गया कि अगर जैसे कि बैड टच और गुड टच के बारे में बताया जाए, इस तरह से हम फेल करते हैं। वो तो हम बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं, बैड टच और गुड टच, लेकिन उन चीज़ों को हम एक्सप्रेस कैसे करें वो हमें नहीं पता होता है। तो जैसे हम थिएटर क्लास में हमें जब स्टार्टिंग में बताया गया कि तुम्हारे साथ अगर ऐसा कुछ गलत हुआ है तो तुम यहाँ पर बता सकते हो, तो सच्ची में सब लड़कियों के साथ कुछ ना कुछ हुआ था और सभी ने अपने अपने मन की बात रखी।
Hello. Welcome again to the podcast, Theatre of Joy. Today, we bring to you yet another amazing person, Arundhati Vishwanath. Just to say that she's from South India. Arundhati practices theatre of the oppression, which she'll tell us all about. She's also a psychotherapist. How exciting, right? So, over to Arundhati now. Arundhati.
Hi, Harleen.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Such
I
a
feel
joy.
so honored.
Thank you. Such a joy to be on Theatre of Joy.
So, tell us.
Mhm.
I'm very excited to know what is Theatre of Joy, Theatre of the Oppressed. Sorry, I got it wrong. Theatre of the Oppressed. And how and what is your Theatre of Joy? And how has your life panned out till today? We are so excited to know.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, yes, I'm a Theatre of the Oppressed facilitator and a psychotherapist, and I work with various marginalized communities and groups across the country using the modalities of Theatre of the Oppressed and a body of practices that I've put together called the Embodied Therapeutic Practices.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Embodied
Therapeutic practices. Yes, yes.
In the body.
Yes.
You heal the body.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And really stepping into the experience of fully being in your body and relating with life and with yourself from that experience, as opposed to just, thinking and analyzing and being in the head all the time, which so many of us in this world are so prone to doing.
And drive ourselves crazy with it.
Up the wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I grew up actually I was born to and I grew up in a Savarna family, to liberal parents, but rather traditional. And I used to love doing theatre. I used to really, really enjoy doing theatre. And whether it was at home, with my friends, with my family. I was always mimicking people and making people laugh. I just loved doing that, you know. And a couple of teachers in school recognized me for this talent, and brought me to stage. And you know, I loved having the light while I used to perform on stage and making people laugh. I used to always participate in comedy sort of plays, and you know, I used to also draw those kinds of scripts to me, mimes, and you know, with my face painted white and wearing all white and stuff like that. And then there came a time when I was in college that I wanted to do so much more of theater. And I remember, you know, it used to be after college hours. And I asked my parents, you know, can I, you know, come perhaps a couple of hours late home, because I want to do theater. And I was told very um, clearly and blankly that no, the theater is not a part of our culture, and focus on your studies. And this is the time to study. This is the time to
Create your
focus,
future.
create your future. This is the time to set your foundational blocks. Um, and I thought I was being a good girl, and I did what I was supposed to do, focusing on studies and um, you know, getting high marks and all of it. But the theater sort of part of me, the element, just the life that flowed in me, always remained. And I remember like going in between. You know, all my classmates used to say, "Hey, can you like mimic that teacher? And can you act like her? And you know, him and all our classmates." And between the 10 minutes that we had between two classes, between the teachers, the time between the when the teachers would leave and come, I would be taking on the podium and you know, imitating this person and that person. And it really gave me so much energy when people laughed, and when people were joyful, and I was playing a role in that, you know. It really was like a life force that I was gaining from, that I was contributing to.
And giving, because it's a gift of laughter, right?
Yeah,
And a gift of
absolutely.
joy.
Yeah.
And maybe many of your classmates thought that I could also do that.
Probably. Yeah, well, that's for them to say. But as I grew older, I studied social work, and even in my field area, and now was the time when I was now dealing with more serious socio-political issues around me. We were looking at caste, we were looking at gender, we were looking at different structural discrimination elements, and you know, stories and narratives of this. So my education continued, and my work also became centered, but it also became a lot about excels and analyzing and theoretical and conceptual understanding of what these various structural dimensions meant and stuff like that. So while my focus grew on that, there was always again a part of you know, the theater part of me that would say, "Hey, why don't we do a street play?" Or you know, "Why don't we do a learning needs assessment using theater?" Or you know, why don't we create like a learning drums session for women? You
A
know,
drum
so
circle.
drum circle for women. You know,
Wow.
so I used to have these sort of wild ideas, and the spaces. And then when I started working as well, the spaces that I was in became more and more formal, where theater continued to be understood as something extra and not really mainstream. And I too thought I was, you know, building my career, and I was, you know, I continued to work. Then my life took me to Central India and working with indigenous women's groups in Central India, looking at savings and credit groups and uh, gram Gram Sabha, talking to women about Gram Sabha, about governance, about gender trainings, looking at gender based violence and all these concepts, improved agriculture practices, and so on.
So indigenous as in
Tribal
tribal
communities,
communities?
tribal
Oh wow.
communities, the Gonds in Madhya Pradesh, those were
Mm.
primarily, and in Bastar were primarily the communities that I worked with. The Yeah, so when all of this started happening, you know, it was quite a formal sort of space. And
Mm.
while there was some sort of theatrics in understanding all of this, any sort of theater production or play production again remained in the margins. You know, it didn't really come to the limelight, so as to speak.
Spotlight.
The spotlight, so as to speak. But then uh, I was also, you know, I also at that time started getting very disillusioned with what the social sector was and what was happening. We would be talking and preaching about things, you know, about gender equality or about organic farming or um, saying no to caste untouchability and things like that. But within the space of, say, the work atmosphere, the climate, there was a fair bit of hypocrisy. There was a fair bit of double standards. I remember working at an organization where we were doing the I Am Nirbhaya campaign, you know, really standing against violence against women on the basis of
And this was triggered by that Nirbhaya.
the Nirbhaya case that happened in Delhi. Yeah, you know, so
all that stuff was,
yeah, and so the organization wanted to say that, hey, we take a stand against gender-based violence, and we had done a series of videos on it, and we were running a gender campaign with some very senior feminists in the country endorsing and supporting the campaign. And my boss was, you know, sexually harassing his employees. He was doing stuff that made the women employees very uncomfortable, which we later brought up in the Me Too campaign that happened. A number of us, around 16 of us, campaigned to talk about this issue. So these kind of double standards in what we were preaching, you know, the Nirbhaya campaign, it's a national campaign, and we're talking about gender equality, and we stand against gender-based violence and all of it. And here's this man who's figuring out ways of creating situations where he can hit on me and my female colleagues. We are not safe in our workspace, you know. So it felt like, wait, something's wrong here. So it led to a lot of disillusionment working in the social sector for me after perhaps about 3 or 4 years of working, or whether we are able to take stands against things like violence against women as being committed by the police in central India, for instance. These were issues that the organization said, no, we will work on issues of gender violence, we will work on savings and credit, but we will not work on you know, the police creating it, you know, making it difficult.
Yeah, you know, this is the experience I also had. Ages ago, say in the 70s, you know,
Yeah.
late 70s, where I was also in a situation like that, where the bosses did not touch some situations because they were politically hot. My God, and a whole generation, 2 generations away.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a bit shocking.
It is.
Yeah, but also multidimensional in many ways, don't you think?
Yeah.
That we've lived similar realities, though across
2 generations
timelines.
apart.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't want to do this, and it really made me, you know, it made me really question things, and I started working very closely with people's movements in central India, you know, leave the NGOs and all these government sector, you know, like leave all of them behind and just spend time with the people to understand what is really happening, what
So
they
on
need.
your own.
By myself and with a couple of friends at times, like we would go just recording music in Bastar and in Bijapur, a friend of mine and I, and we had an initiative, small initiative called Mahua Trips, and we would just go and listen to music and try to learn different instruments, and then we were, you know, and then I was also with fact finding groups. I was also with lawyers groups, and really in trying to understand what was happening in this region, you know.
Which is what is missing in a lot of the work, because there's a give and there's no take.
Right,
So it has to be simultaneous, right?
right, right.
For anything to really go deep and work.
Right. And look, there is a lot of power when we're talking about NGOs. It's a mask that one wears, and then spending time with the
money.
community. Of course, of course. And then spending time with the community without that mask I was treated very differently. The connections were very different, right? Initially, I was like, oh my God, I don't have the power that I earlier did. And it made me feel very uncomfortable. Not having this, oh, I'm from X NGO as a backing, you know, I'm going in this car or I'm going on my bike, but here I'm going on foot, I'm using the public transport and arriving at villages. And the way the connection happens is very different, as opposed to when this mask is off, when you're just showing up as yourself, as someone who's interested. And it wasn't an easy walk. That part of life wasn't easy, and by the end of it, I remember feeling so burnt out and so unhappy because I kept wanting to work on women's empowerment. And at the end of the day, I looked at myself, I was like, do you feel empowered? Are you happy? Like, what's happening? You're chasing behind that woman or those groups of women, and with all
and telling
these,
them that they're unhappy,
and telling them that they're unhappy, and
the
with
biggest
this
challenge.
and with all this imagination of me somehow saving them from their context, from their situation. I'm like, hey, just a minute, are you happy, woman?
Are you saved?
Yeah, have you saved yourself, you know? So what's really happening? Like, and I think that is when things really shifted, and theater came back to my life to really occupy the spotlight, because I started asking myself, okay, what is it that brings me joy? What is it that I want to do? What can I do at this moment that will make me happy? Right? So that's how the um, and for me the answer was theater, and for different people it's different things. What's important is really asking that question: what is it that makes me feel joyful? What is it that makes me feel happy? And yeah, so for me it was theater. But then I also realized that it's going to be different now. I didn't want to do stage theater, like only stage theater where I'm performing. I knew that I wanted to do something about social change and transformation for my own personal journey as well. So I said, let's explore modalities that that could throw light on this, that could also um, give me what is do what things that bring me joy, but at the same time continue with understanding the social and the political relevance of it, of the world that we're living in. So that's how I started exploring playback theater, and then I came across Theater of the Oppressed. And when I did Theater of the Oppressed, I mean, playback theater was also amazing.
Playback
It's
theater.
playback theater.
So you'll have to tell us what
A
is
little bit.
playback theater and
Sure.
what is Theater of the Oppressed.
Sure. So playback theater is basically when you build a sort of empathetic container with actors and with an audience. And the entire method is on listening to stories from the audience and playing it back.
Oh, wow.
Right? So there are a set of 4 to 5 actors, sort of MC, or what in Theater of the Oppressed we call a joker, who kind of a facilitator, who kind of invites stories from the audience, and then we listen to the stories, everyone, and then the actors play it back. And so many different things can happen out of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I've never actually experienced playback theater.
Yeah, it's a beautiful form, and it has so much potential to also build in empathetic containers to listen and to just be safe spaces where people can share their stories. And something about watching your story being played back can be very therapeutic, very empowering,
Yes,
very relieving at very different levels.
And very clarifying. I mean, your situation actually becomes clearer.
More clear. You watch it, you watch your own situation, but from a distance, and that can,
and the brain goes out and the body comes in.
exactly. And people, I mean, this is also a gift. The actors gift the community gifts the actors with stories, and the actors gift the community with playing it back. Right? So it is really an exchange of gifts. And so this was one of the modalities I learned from a really dear friend of mine, Ben Rivers. And then we moved on to doing Theater of the Oppressed. So Shobha Raghavan, who's a really dear friend of mine and a very amazing theater facilitator herself, she said, "Hey, you should check out Theatre of the Oppressed," you know.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, Oppressed, I mean, such a heavy name, and you know, come on." And then I was like, "Anyways, let's check it out because, yeah, surely I have just discovered that I am oppressed. So, and I've been focusing on others' joy, and I'm just like burnt out. So, might as well go and look at what this is." And Harleen, oh my God, I mean, all we did was play. All we did was, you know, move from one activity to another, which was just play. And through this experience of play, through this experience that brings in a sort of heightened joy in your body, um, the momentum was created in a way that we were able to look at issues in our life that didn't really resonate with joy. So when we then look at situations in our
In
own
a kind of a
lives,
free space without presumptions,
exactly,
without, you know.
right, and because we're playing so much, we are you know, we are in a highly energetic and safe space because of the movement and because of the play and because we're really connected with this childlike experience that all of us basically, that's our true essence of being, the authentic, true, it's a blissful experience. So when we're in that space, you're feeling in your body a confidence, a compassion, and an energy to be able to invite then different parts of you that don't resonate with this sort of joy, right? So when that happens, you're inviting these parts and going like, hey, what's happening? Then you're able to relate with stories in your life that in which otherwise you would have felt oppressed, but now you're just looking at it like, okay, let me examine this from different spaces, from different corners. And then you have friends, you have people in the workshop, in, you know, who have also been going through similar experiences, who are helping you out in examining the same way you are helping them in examining various stories in your life where you have felt oppressed or where you have felt powerless.
How ingenious.
Yeah. And when I did theater, I was like, oh my, no, you know, like, okay, now I'm back on track. Now I'm right back on track. You know, it felt like, oh, now I'm back on the driver's seat of my own life. I'm not chasing behind like, oh, your joy will give me joy, so let me focus on your joy. No, it became, okay, you know, let me fill my cup. And it really opened up that opportunity to kind of fill my cup. I must actually tell you a little story about Theatre of the Oppressed and Augusto Boal, the founder of Theatre of the
Augusto
Oppressed.
Boal.
Yes, he's a Brazilian. He was a Brazilian playwright and an activist, and really, you know, one of the most inspirational people to have given birth to such a beautiful body of knowledge and work. Boal used to be, you know, like an actor, a director of plays, and he, you know, really he produced a lot of very artistic, creative plays in Brazil. And during one of his performances in Brazil, there was this. You know, his troupe had gone to one of the villages and they had produced a play on the landless peasants and the landowners, right? And the conflict between these two classes. So the play was basically, oh, you know, talking about the issue and fighting, and then, you know, like, oh, come on, you know, we can't just keep quiet and continue to give our power away to the landowners, and we are peasants and we are farmers, we are the one who till the lands, and the power of the land should hence be in our hands. And, you know, this sort of articulation happening on stage, and all the villagers who are watching are peasants, right? So they're like, wow, this is exactly what's, you know, so they're really invested in what's happening on the stage. And at the end of the play, there's this energy, and everyone you know, picks up like these cardboard cut plastic, you know, cardboard sorry, guns, wooden guns, and they're like, you know, for this cause, let us all unite together and let us spill our blood, you know. So everyone with like red bands and with these cardboard guns in their hand, like, let us spill our blood. And the entire village stands up and they're like all celebrating, and yes, let us spill our blood, you know. So it's like waves of glorious energy flowing through the crowd and flowing through the actors, and everyone's like, like, let's do this, you know. And then this old man from the audience, he stands up, Virgilio, and he says, you know, everyone's clapping, and he says, thank you, you know, we have prepared a feast for you, you know, let's all have lunch together. Thank you so much for this performance, and let's have lunch and then let's talk more. So all the actors, they come in, and then they're sitting, everyone in the village, everyone sitting together. And Boal says, and Virgilio tells Boal, you know, what the issues that you shared in your play about the proletariat and the bourgeois, you know, and the landowners and the peasants and the conflict, it's the same in our village. We are the peasants, the landless peasants, but it's all our labor that goes into the land. So you tell us really what to do, because the same thing is happening here, and we are ready to follow you. We are fully ready to follow you. So you just tell us what you need from us, and we will follow your cause, we will follow you, and we want power, we want land. You know, so please tell us. So Boal, when he hears this, is older man in the village, he feels very humbled, and he says, you know, thank you so much for your trust in us. Um, but we are just artists, and um, this is your land, this is your village, this is your labor. So you need to figure out what you need to do. And, you know, we are just artists. You know, we just perform on stage, so we won't be able to tell you what to do.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah. And then Virgilio at that moment says, oh, so when you said, let us spill our blood, you meant our blood. You didn't mean your blood. And in that moment, it really breaks through the hegemony of art,
Yeah,
the politics of art,
yeah.
like how,
And the politics of NGOs.
and the politics of NGOs, right?
Everyone who goes takes themselves out there to go and, you know, uplift people.
Yeah, yeah. And usually artists kind of have a tendency to escape that, because, you know, it's art, it's creativity, and all of it. But in that moment, Boal realizes that artists too, by claiming that stage and saying what they should be doing, I have understood your problem. I have used my artistic license to create a play about your problem. And with all my artistic thoughts and movement and flow, I have figured out what the solution is to your problem. And in very beautiful, artistic, colorful ways, I will tell you what the solution to your problem is. And telling anyone what their problem is and what the solution to their problem could be without being a part of the solution itself is a very powerful hegemonic move, which is again exerting the same sort of pattern. I know, you don't know, because you have less power, I have more power. And he realizes, and that's the birth of Theatre of the Oppressed. In that moment, he says, I am never going to preach again an action that I am unwilling to do myself. Right? So that's the base and the very foundation of Theatre of the Oppressed, which is this. It's a modality that looks at that has a battery, a huge bag of practices, of games, of activities, of exercises that really helps us not just play but look within and identify spaces, stories, narratives in which we have not been able to be in alignment with the joy, with the authenticity that is truly us, and to address it and to rehearse for life the way we want to actually live it. Yeah. So Theatre of the Oppressed creates spaces for rehearsing change for real life. And it's beautiful. Harleen, I talk from experience with not just what I have experienced, but also when I look at the participants in my workshop in amongst different communities that we work in. Like day one, people are, you know, like figuring out, and day two onwards, it's a total party, and people not only become ready to um, deal with their own life issues, but then take it forward and say, hey, look, these are the issues that I dealt with, and these are the issues from my life. Can you also come and help me look at these problems? And can you also help me articulate solutions to this? So it creates a space for an interactive, what we call a forum theater performance, where we do the performance and then we invite participants from the audience to step in. So theater of the oppressed, or forum theater specifically, creates a space or a movement for a spectator, someone who's just watching.
A spectator. Oh, wow.
A spectator
Plus
who's
an
just
actor.
watching, yeah, to become a spectator.
Oh, wow.
Right? So you're just sitting and you're watching, and then the invitation is to say stop. If you're looking at something that is causing you discomfort in your body, pay attention to your body, pay attention to your emotions, and say stop is the invitation. So once they say stop, they can come into the play and replace the person who has the least power, and then somehow try to change the story. Right? So this is the larger process, and it really breaks the fourth wall that otherwise performances.
And you're right, just to bring yourself up to saying stop
Yeah,
is a big,
it is.
big leap.
It is. It is. And sometimes you won't believe it. Um, you know, a lot of us say, actually, it's actually quite easy to believe. A lot of us don't say stop because we think that whatever we want to say is silly, or it's stupid.
Silly, or you don't want to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
tell everyone your story.
Yeah, yeah. And even if it's even to play, sometimes you're like, should I play? Should I not play? You know? But saying stop takes effort, yes, but creates and opens out a window of unseen possibilities and opportunities within yourself.
Yeah, I mean, usually for a normal proscenium theater presentation, people are sitting in the audience and talking, oh, yeah, I can't do that, they can, I can't do that because of this, because of that.
Yeah,
And you're not, the performance doesn't change you,
right,
unless you're willing.
right.
And actually, if you're willing, also doesn't give you the space to say stop.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't we really now create places where we can just play with the changes that we want to? Can we experiment and see? If I say stop to the situation where this woman is being really mean to that child, if I say stop, you know, okay, let me say stop first and understand. So saying stop, then sometimes people who come, so they're like, I have no idea, I just said
Why I said
stop,
stop.
and then I got there and the play continued from there. I just showed up the way I was.
Wow.
Right? So creating opportunities where we can really be and think on our feet and really be a part of articulating the solution. Not just saying, oh, this problem exists, that problem, oh, that exists, this exists, but can we really be a
Put
part?
myself out there, take my body
Yeah,
out there,
exactly,
instead of just engaging with my mind.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
Because this we are always doing, and the world that we live in holds this in high regard. The caste system in our country
Yeah.
looks at this as where the savarnas came from, and the rest of
And
the
the
body
body's
is
dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The feet especially, but it's the feet that walks you.
Especially women are not
Yeah.
supposed to take their body
Yeah,
for themselves.
Yeah.
And think with their body and be with their body.
be with their body. It's supposed to be all wrapped up and carry different colors and indicators of your marital status and whatnot. Like it's
Yeah,
the sindoor and all of it is I mean, the body for a woman is also really understood as to share with the world what state of life you are in, what stage of life you are in. So it's really a marker. It's a place that you decorate, an opportunity to really deconstruct that. Yeah,
package it for the right person.
yeah, and to look a particular way, or whatever that is. So all of it.
So okay, I'm also intrigued about the psycho.
The embodied therapeutic practices.
Yes, the embodied
Yes.
therapeutic.
So as I started doing theater, and I used to work with different communities, the RELA, the Chhattisgarh Mukti Morcha, the cultural wing of the Chhattisgarh Mukti Morcha, for instance, or there's a group of student unions group and a group of social activists in Tamil Nadu called Agati. I worked, I remember, with a group of children in Masuri on children of waste pickers. And while working with these different communities, and while theater of the oppressed is bringing in a lot of joy but also a lot of therapeutic relief, which is understated, honestly. And somehow I found, even amongst the leadership of theater of the oppressed at a national level, that there was a shyness to kind of claim um, that theater of the oppressed also has therapeutic value to it. And then I started realizing that in the world that we live in, there was so much more need for that. There was so much more need for people to just meet parts, yeah, to heal, to just meet parts of themselves that for so long have been exiled, that for so long have been pushed away, that for so long have, not been paid any heed to, has been in the darkness, right? To really just create a space, a non judgmental space to meet oneself, to meet different parts of oneself. And I started realizing the absolute need for that. And again, like by now, I have become a little wise and I see that this is also my own journey. Like there are parts of myself, having done some work, having, had some fun, there are other parts of me going like, hey, even I want to have that fun. Even I want to do
Get
this.
all the parts together.
Yeah, like I'm like, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
So when that started, when this sort of articulation started happening in my personal space, then I started seeking out therapy very actively, and I started exploring different kinds of therapy. So some of the modalities that really helped me was looking at womb medicine, which was really closely tracking the menstrual cycle and coming together and realigning with the cycle of nature, a cycle of nature that we all are. And not just really focusing on the bright always, but just looking at and accepting all parts of ourselves, all phases of ourselves, and all stages of ourselves. Breath work, looking at conscious connected breath as a modality, which is an open mouth breathing technique, and exploring the sort of unconscious and different parts of the body and sensations in the body, and bringing a sort of integration with that awareness. And the comprehensive resource model, which is a trauma healing modality, which looks at deep rooted trauma and creating neurobiological safety in the body using breath, a safe space in the body to invite parts of the self that are traumatized to process things out and reintegrate into the system.
This is so so different and so. I mean, probably. I mean, it works maybe better.
Mhm.
I want to do it also, but then the techniques, the psychotherapy techniques, which engage only with the mind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I
Because,
mean, those are useless.
oh, my God.
And
See, yeah, I mean, I can get a bit technical about this if you like. Would you like that?
yes, you can get graphic also if you want.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the research I'm referring to is found in the Comprehensive Resource Model by Lisa Schwartz, the book, The Comprehensive Resource Model by Lisa Schwartz, that talks about how the root of the trauma is basically in the periaqueductal gray, which is in the midbrain of our brain, right? And this is where trauma is stored, as well as experiences of feeling rested, safe, secure. These experiences are also located in the midbrain, in the periaqueductal
the
gray.
around the pineal.
A
I mean,
little
that's
higher.
a
Yeah.
little high, but
Yeah,
that's
the
what
midbrain.
people will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when we're looking at cognitive based therapies, the parts of the brain that the cognitive based therapy looks at is the prefrontal cortex. That is, for the logical thinking, for all the reasoning abilities. The prefrontal cortex is where all our thoughts and our articulation of thoughts comes in, which is directly in connection with the amygdala, which is the emotional sort of base. Now, cognitive based therapy looks at these two parts of the brain, which is not where the root of the trauma is. And working with just these two over a period of time, of course, there's relief when we talk about our problems, and language is again a cognitive process. And this happened and then that happened. So there is relief when we're talking about things. But so much of it is actually anchored in the periaqueductal gray in the midbrain. So just talking and not looking at the affect, looking at the root of the trauma, which is connected to our nervous system, to triggers that make our bodies do particular things like increased heartbeat or slouching or whatever. It could be different behavioral aspects, be it in our body, be it in our interpersonal interactions, the way we deal with the world. uh, it begins to trigger that, but not really address it. With
And then
CRM,
leaves you
yeah,
high and dry.
yeah, high and dry, and sometimes probably in a worse state than you started
With.
counseling with,
Yeah.
which is sad and partially unethical, actually fairly unethical. And so what CRM does is looks at resourcing, which is creating a safe and grounded
CRM as
experience.
in?
The comprehensive resource model,
Hmm.
yeah, is creates a it creates a really regulated, grounded experience in the body. The same as, like I was telling you about theater, you're having all this fun and you're energetically confident in your body, to you then invite parts of the self that are traumatized. And these are deeper, we're looking at deeper issues, personally, and as
Issues beyond issues, underneath issues,
absolutely,
which might, issues which are recognized,
yeah,
but there's
what
things
are the
beyond.
roots of it, where in the unconscious is this actually rooted. Some of the issues that I have worked with personally and as well as with clients is to do with also generational stuff, patterns that we've carried on from our maternal side, from our paternal side, regarding violence, or the way we relate with parents or with children or with relationship and stuff like that, with the world. Some patterns you'll see across generations. So to really look at these various patterns and how to break them is something that CRM has really, really powerfully brought forward for me. So in this phase in my life and with my work, as I continue doing theater of the oppressed, what I'm trying to also bring in is embodied therapeutic practices, and with a specific focus on breath work, because breath work also has immense and beautiful potential to
Which you
really
can actually do online also.
you can do it online. Yeah, I mean, I do both CRM, especially CRM work online. I do one-to-one work, but breath work and CRM, to fold it into theater, is what this phase of my work actually is. So I'm so curious and to experiment and to discover and what this could mean. Though I've already started. This organization that I have founded, Kalaa Dhari, we are called the Art of the Inner Revolution, is our tagline.
Oh, the inner revolution.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So Kalaa Dhari, the Art of the Inner Revolution. And Kalaa Dhari roughly translates to she who holds art. And I think our being is in essence art. Everything that we do is art, so she, as a sort of feminine, nurturing space
Which
and
is that
culture.
even in men? I mean, if they would
Absolutely.
recognize it.
Absolutely, without doubt. It's the quality of the feminine, not specifically about man or woman, which is there in all of us. As someone who holds art is basically what the organization kind of uh, stands its foundation on. And so through Kalaa Dhari, what we're trying to do is, so let me tell you a little bit about the communities we work with
Yeah,
and we
well,
want to
you
work
have
with.
only 2-3 minutes now, so
Thank you.
fit in that.
I mean, you've been very generous listening to everything that I've said.
No, I wish
So
the
far.
format was, but yeah, okay, anyway.
Yeah. So some of the communities. So I've worked with a diverse range of communities across the country, but over the next year and a half or two, We want to work with a diverse set of communities across the country, bringing a community of field-based practitioners, community-based practitioners, and equipping them with theater of the oppressed and embodied therapeutic practices skills. So some of the organizations we want to work with are Jan Jagran Sanghatan Samiti in Bihar, JJSS in Bihar, the Shahid School in Chhattisgarh, Sadhana Mahila Sangha, which is a federation of sex workers in Bangalore, the Justice Initiative, which is a group of women who work with women in prisons in Bangalore, Muskan School, who work with children of denotified tribal communities in Bhopal, Parvatiya Mahila Adhikar Manch, which is an organization that works with the mountain women, especially survivors of domestic violence. Agati, which is a group of social activists working on sustainable ways of living, of being in Tamil Nadu. Nirangal, which is an LGBTQI resource group in Tamil Nadu. So these are some of the groups that we want to work with. Yeah, it's an absolute honor to really then look at if social change and social processes can be anchored in experiences of well-being, of being grounded, of feeling like because so much of our politics and social change is anchored in suffering and angst
and money for somebody, and
and all this politics, which comes from being anchored in something which is like after this what,
itself,
after this
yeah,
what,
itself,
like, and it's self-destructive beyond a point. So
yeah.
can we really look at anchoring in joy, in authenticity, in being grounded? Can we look at politics from that angle? Can politics be about
And
joy?
the inner, what did you say, inner revolution?
Yeah, yeah, to really bring focus to that, because
Hmm.
it's, and then you're just evolving, it just gets better each
I
day,
know.
it's just like, oh wow,
Okay,
so can that be personal goals and community goals and political goals for people who have been who have been working on this for so long? Can we bring an articulation to that? So that's the effort, to look at theater of the oppressed and embodied therapeutic practices for a
what a
community of
mix.
practitioners.
Augusto
Yeah.
Boal must be, his energy must be smiling.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my goodness.
Yeah, if I
My
could
God.
contribute to that, it would be such an honor.
Oh, thank you so much. We must do it again. A
Yes,
few
thank you.
years, a few months into, the
Sure.
work that you
Absolutely.
will roll out,
Yeah.
and your experiences. It will be fun to listen to them again.
Thank you so
And
much.
I'm coming to attend one of your workshops.
Absolutely. Oh, such a joy, such an honor. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Harleen.
thank you
So
so
much.
much, Arundhati. How did I get so lucky? How did we all get so lucky? Oh, wow.
The joy
Wow.
is mine.
Wow.
The pleasure is
Wow.
mine.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.